What is up, everybody? Bopalopagus here at Whitewater Disc Golf Course in Spokane, Washington, and we're going to be playing an 18-hole mix-up layout today. Let's get into it. Hole 1, we have a 343-foot par 3, going with our A3, trying to turn it down the middle of the gap and fade back into the middle. And we pulled a little bit right, but we missed the first tree, and we do fade back in the middle, so not a great shot, but end up in a pretty good spot. And for our second shot here, we're just going to go with the range, trying to give it a little nose up floaty bid. And it comes out just a little bit left, but it does luckily kick off the tree and right under the basket. So not a bad start. Tap in par to start around. And you can see it's super windy out here. Going to be battling that all day, but we'll have to get through it. And we're on to hole 2, 425-foot par 4. Going with a forehand Firebird here, just trying to get up to the Mando, and it's a pretty easy upshot from there. But unfortunately it does slip out a little bit early and kicks a bush, but luckily it doesn't slide over the hill, so we have a decent shot here. And for the upshot, we're going to go with our spice here and just try to throw it on a big turnover and let it fight back at the end. And we give it plenty of height, plenty of angle, and we hit the guardian trees about 30 feet in front of the basket and drop straight down. Leave us with about a 35-foot uphill putt, but it is obstructed as well, so we have a little bit of a tough look here. And we just clipped the branch. I like the putt out of the hand though, so feeling good. And we still have a tap in par, so not a bad start, even through 2. And we're on to hole 3 now. 266-foot par 3, plays way down the hill to the right. We're just gonna flick our A3 out there, get it through the middle, and hopefully it glides down towards the basket. And it comes up a little bit short, probably about 50-60 feet here down the hill. And I'd like to step this, but it's just a little bit awkward downhill and all the pine needles and bark and everything. So we're just gonna give it a normal putt, and hopefully we can get it close. And it is decent, a little bit too high, a little bit too left, but we have another tap in par, so we're going to be even through 3 to start the round. Not bad. And we're on to hole 4 now, 300-foot par 3. And we're going to go with our deflector here and just try to put it on Anheuser through the gap, make sure that we clear the Mando and fight back towards the basket. And it actually comes out flat to maybe even a touch of hyzer, and it luckily does still get past the Mando. And I actually thought that this was about 20 or 30 feet shorter than where it actually ended up, but I'm lucky I found it, and we're just gonna pitch up here for the par. Leave it a little bit deep, probably about 10 feet, so not too bad, but it is on an elevated basket, so we're gonna take our time, make sure that we get the par. We put it in, even through 4. Not a great start, not a bad start though. And we're on to hole 5, 226-foot par 3, going forehand flex with a deflector here. And we put out a little bit too far to the right, but we give it enough angle, and it comes back and lands just right of the basket and flips down the hill a little bit. And we have a 5-footer, gotta make sure we make this one. And we do 1 down through 5. And that's the bird we've been looking for. And we'll try to keep it going on hole 6 here, 140 feet straight up the hill, par 3. Gonna go with our A4 here, just try to put it towards the big tree just to the right of the basket, and hopefully it sits down. And it's pretty much a perfect shot, but it comes up a little bit too steep, skips behind the basket, and rolls all the way back down the hill. Luckily it catches a little stump or something, but we'll have to work through that as well. A little bit slippery there, almost slipped there. Pine needles are getting me, and my back foot slips out there. Slide down, pull the stump on top of me, push it off, and it was a little bit scary. Pretty unfortunate after the roll away to have that happen as well, but we still have a decently hard upshot here. We don't really have a line at the basket, so we're gonna go forehand A3 to the right of all the trees and try to flex it back towards the basket. And leave it a little bit too far right, but it was decent. Have about a 18 footer here, and the wind is starting to really pick up now, blowing pretty much straight left to right, and we're gonna try to wait for it to die down, but it really just never does. And we're gonna try to give it a putt. We're aiming at the left side of the chains, and it comes out of my hand pretty good. You can't really tell on camera, but it blew it just completely to the right side of the chains out, and we'll have a tap in bogey to go back to even after pretty much a perfect drive and then the little slip on the hill. So pretty unfortunate hole for us, but we are still even through 6, so it's not the end of the world. And we're on to hole 7 now, 196 foot par 3. Going with the range here, just trying to keep it in the middle of the gap. It should be a pretty easy hole, but I seem to have a lot of trouble with it. And that continues here. Pull it just a little bit early. Kicks left into jail. And we're just going to try to flick with the A4 here and get it kind of close to the basket. But there is a tree about an inch in front of my disc as well, so it's a little bit tricky here. But we'll try to get around it and just give it a little flick of the wrist. Hopefully get it close. We are able to put it to about circle's edge, probably a little bit outside, but we do land behind the tree as well. And I initially want to go straight at it, but I'm scared of hitting the tree and kicking all the way down the hill. So I switched to a straddle and try to put it to the right of the second tree and let it swing back in. And it's a pretty decent putt, but just don't have the angle. Tap in the bogey, and pretty unfortunate again. 1 over through 7. And we're on to hole 8, 275 foot par 3. And there's a lot of headwind here coming off the river, so we're going eagle, going stable, and we're just trying to get it flat straight at the basket, and if it turns a little bit, then it should fade back. But it just slips out way too early. We do get a pretty nice kick back into the middle of the fairway, so we should have a pretty easy upshot here. We're just going to try to putt it up there. Hopefully get it close and maybe give it a run. And we pull it a few feet to the right, but pretty good upshot. It does flip away a little bit, so we have about a 6 footer here, but there is quite a bit of wind as well, so we're going to take a little bit of time and sneak it just over the top of the basket. 1 over through 8 now, on to hole 9, 356 foot par 3. And we're going to go with our Raider here and just try to hang it out over the river and let it crash back in. And it doesn't really flip up at all, didn't get a full hold of it, but catches that branch, drops straight down into the bush. And it's super unfortunate because you can see the rest of the field is pretty much wide open, so the fact that it's just in the middle of this bush is super unfortunate. And we're going to try to go with our A4 here and just pitch it up. Super awkward stance. Don't love the backhand here. I would really like to forehand, but we just don't have the room. And I really just don't want to pull it either and throw it into the river, but we're going to try to get it close. And we do pull it a little bit, but it comes back, kicks off a rock, and it does luckily stay safe. But leave ourselves about 25 here in a pretty strong tailwind. So we're going to try to put it up towards the band, and hopefully the tailwind will drop it in. And we just don't get the drop, but we do get the lift on the next putt. Tap in our double bogey after what probably should have been a pretty easy par. So unfortunate there, but we're still 3 over through the front 9, so it could be a lot worse. And we're on to hole 10 now, 585 foot par 4. Going with the destroyer here, just trying to put it out flat. Still a lot of headwind, so hopefully it'll turn a little bit and then fade back to the middle at the end. And we put a lot of power behind that one, but we throw it a little bit nose up, and it just catches a lift and then gets a little bit of a drop. Fades out kind of early, and we leave ourselves about 200 feet out here. And we're going with a forehand eagle, and I just don't get along with this disc. You saw on hole 8, slipped out early on the backhand, and here it slips out way early on the forehand, but luckily it does flip up, and it's actually not a horrible shot. Slides up to about probably 50 or 60 feet down the hill. It is a little bit scary because the river is super close behind the basket, so we're just going to try to putt it up, hopefully leave it close. And it came in a little bit steep, but it does sit right next to the basket, luckily. So tap in the par. Not bad, not a great drive, not a great upshot, and still get the par. So happy with that. On to hole 11 now, 257 foot par 3. Going with the deflector here again. Gonna go backhand, try to put it out over the road and let it crash back in towards the mulch. And it's a touch low, but we do get a skip and we do get up onto the mulch. Pretty good shot, but it's still about 18 feet out up the hill into a headwind. The wind switches once you get up top here, so we're putting the same way that it was a tailwind, but it's a headwind now. Doesn't matter on that one, we just pulled it, but now we went hazard, putting for bogey in the tailwind, and we get the drop there. Tap in another double after what could have been a birdie, definitely should have been a par. And we're now 5 over through 11. Feeling a little bit demoralized now, but we're on to hole 12, 312 foot par 3. Gonna go Raider here, try to turn it this time, throw it out over the little tree to the right of the basket. And it comes out a little bit early, but it does push straight long enough, gets a wind drop and catches that little tree. Rolls safe, doesn't go hazard. And we have about a 20 footer here into a headwind, or a tailwind, excuse me. And so we're gonna try to put it up over the basket and let it drop back down in. Give it a little bit of an elevator putt. We do miss, but it does stay close. And we'll tap in the par. Five over through 12. Now we're on to hole 13, 289 foot par 3. Going with the spice here, gonna try to put it on a big old forehand spike hyzer, let it crash back into the basket. And we don't throw it high, but we get it flat and not on hyzer, so it pushes far enough, but it just doesn't get right enough, doesn't have the height. And we end up in these rocks here about 45 feet away from the basket, maybe a little bit further. But we're just gonna give it another elevator putt, hopefully leave it close. And we get a little bit of a jump away, but stays pretty close. And we'll have a tap in for the par here. Just gotta make sure we make it. And we do, 5 over through 13. Got a couple of pars, but those two doubles on 9 and 11 were pretty hard. But we're on to hole 14 now, 339 feet. Going with the Raider again. And it's been coming out early, so we're gonna try to correct a little bit, aim for the right side of the gap. Going through the right gap this time. And we hit it right where we wanted to. Would have been a perfect throw. Got it down on hyzer, but just kicks the tree. And we're pretty much on the short tee pad, but it's a little bit awkward because we don't really have follow through room on the forehand. Gonna go A3 here, just try to get it close. And we fall backwards a little bit, throw it too high in the air, and it skips pretty close to the road. We're gonna have to see if it's inbounds. And it's about 3 inches away from being inbounds, so super unlucky there as well. But we have a putt here for bogey, probably about 45, 50 feet out. And I liked it out of the hand just a little bit right, didn't swing at all. And we'll have a tap in double here to go 7 over through 14. Not great. Feel like I've been playing decent today, but just have a couple of tough wind putts and unlucky break there with out of bounds. Going forehand deflector here, trying to go through the left gap, and it comes out a little bit early, but we get a little bit of love to make up for that last stroke, and we end up about 10 feet short of the basket. Have a tap in bird, make up for that last OB stroke. And we make it count, 6 over through 15. And we're on to hole 16 now, 461 foot par 4. Going to the long basket, and we're just trying to get to this landing zone left of that red line to get inbounds. And we're gonna hang our deflector out wide, let it come back in, and it gets to the top of the hill and then gets a little slide back down, end up about a foot out of bounds again, or not out of bounds, but hazard. So we take a stroke, and we're gonna go with our deflector again here and just try to throw a spike hyzer into the island, and it slips out early. It's getting pushed right to left by the wind too, so we end up about 100 feet left of the basket, but we are safe. So we're gonna throw our range here, give it a little spinny putt, and try to get it close. And we commit to the shot, get it up high enough, and it crashes back down into the island. Decent upshot there. Leave ourselves about 15 feet long. And the wind is really picking up right to left here again. You can see the chains are just not even in the middle of the basket. That's how strong the wind is blowing. We're gonna try to wait for it to die down, but it's just not going to again. Right until we putt it. Just wind completely dies as soon as we putt it. Doesn't get any push at all, and we tap in the double. Super frustrated now. Feel like that was a pretty good putt again, and just didn't get the wind read right. Pretty unfortunate, but we're on to hole 17, 275 foot par 3. Going with the T-bird here, trying to putt it out right of the basket and let it come back in. And we do that, but it's on a touch of hyzer, and it just comes up in about 15 feet left of the basket and a touch long, so we have about a 20 footer here. And we just pulled that one to the right. Not a great putt, but we do still save the par, and we're still 8 over through 17. One left to play, and this is an eagleable hole, and I feel decent about 6 over with the breaks that we had today, so we're going to try to go for it. Going forehand destroyer, going to try to flex it to the in between the mandos to the left of the tree in the middle, and have it crash back into the right. And we miss a little bit right, but we do get the flip out of it, and it fades a little bit right, so we're probably 45 feet away here, and we're gonna try to putt it. Still gonna try to save the eagle, trying to thread the needle with that purple line there, trying to get in between that tree and the tree in front of the basket, and we hit the first tree. And now instead of the birdie look, if we just pitched up, we have about a 25 footer, and we leave it short, and we turn a pretty easy birdie into a tap-in par. 8 over through the round there, but not totally mad at it. We had plenty of unfortunate breaks here. We'll go through them all here in a second, but we got a couple of birdies where we were throwing and putting pretty well, but we just started off unlucky on hole 6 with that pretty good drive turning into the rollaway, and then hitting the stump back onto ourselves. Don't get the wind drop there. Do get the wind rise there, and we just pulled that one, go hazard, get the wind drop there, pull that after we've been early releasing everything, OB there, hazard there, and we don't get the wind, trying to thread the needle there. So plenty of strokes left out on the course today, but we'll be back at it again soon. Hopefully get a better score next time. Thanks everybody for watching. I'll be back at you sometime, and bop off.